Welcome to Pagan Coffee Talk. Here are your hosts, Lady Alba and Lord Knight.
All right, Lord Knight.
So we are talking about male mysteries and
One of them.
the military.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with one of our students not that long ago. I was inquiring about whether or not he had served, and he said he had, and I said, good. That's actually something that a lot of our priests have in common.
Yes.
And he was a little surprised by that, and I said, yeah. I said most of our initiated priests at Life Temple, including our founder, served in the military. And I said, there's a particular discipline that teaches that is a very valuable or desirable trait in a priest.
Yes.
He didn't understand what I was saying. I found that interesting. So I kind of want to dive into it. I want to look at what does it mean to be disciplined as a priest?
For me, it always starts with that first ethic and moral we have to keep your word.
Mm.
And you need to even keep it unto yourself.
Oof.
So again, that discipline is, hey, I said I was going to do this, so
Yeah.
I need to get up and actually do it.
Which I'm snickering at, because for anyone who's been married to a man for any length of time, that can often be the source of a lot of strain.
Yes.
In a relationship.
Yes.
Because yes, it's very common for people to say, oh yeah, I'll get to that. And they forget, or they don't, or it takes some other priority. But yeah, our priests tend to be pretty on top of that sort of thing.
Yes. Again, there's this pressure, I want to say, in the priesthood for us to keep our words and to take care of stuff.
Okay.
So again, having to be on point, having to sit there and make those decisions and stuff on top of your head. You with me? You gotta be willing to make a decision.
Back in the day, and or potentially if you have a young man being raised in a pagan household, being raised in a tradition.
Right.
At what age would first degree take place?
Traditionally, or around actually 11.
Okay.
11 or 12.
11 or 12.
You'd be starting to get your first real training on stuff and moving.
Onset of puberty.
Right.
Assuming that this child had been raised in craft from day one.
Right.
Okay. So if we look at it from that standpoint, that growth cycle.
Right.
At that age, to me, what is beginning to happen is that young man is starting to learn control.
Yes.
How to not act on their emotions.
Yes.
How to not react with, we always talk about how little boys are, they're rough and they're tumble and they like to fight.
It takes boys a very long time to learn how to control our aggression.
There you go.
All right. And this aggression comes out in multiple ways. All right. Either A, playing games that got to be the fastest, or I didn't like what you say and I'm going to have to beat the crap out of you now.
At the risk of being crass, I've had many conversations with many a priest where the expression is feast, fuck, or fight.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's...
Again, one of these things in and of themselves are not bad, but it's knowing when to do them properly, in the proper context at the proper time.
Right. So, to me, yeah, that's discipline.
Yes.
Now, is it going to be perfect at the age of 11, 12, 13? No.
No.
But...
hence the reason you're being taught at them ages.
Yes. So, assuming, right, that as you continue down that trajectory, by the time they reach the age of 33, which is typically where third degree comes into play.
Right.
They have a certain mastery of this.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that that's reasonable. So for adults who are learning craft at an older age, right?
Right.
That's an interesting point because
Well,
their development could be at any place.
this is going to send us down a place we might regret later, but we're talking about the same things Jordan Peterson talks about with guys. Clean your room. Set a goal.
Yeah.
Work your way there toward it.
Right.
This is what guys need. This is what men need. This is the way we have to do things. This is the way we learn.
Do you believe that that's where military operations order
they help
comes from?
That comes from there, because your drill sergeants and stuff, they're trained to see what potential's there and to try to bring that out in you.
Right. And it's not happenstance. You take a group of young men, physically exhaust them, not only to make them strong, but also to get their mind
in the right place.
In the right place. Yeah. And the outcomes are much better. And I mean, yes, there's a reason we refer to things as militant, because they come with a lot of discipline and regimented action.
Right. And as bad as this sounds, men training and training a dog is about the same thing. If you can make us hungry and tired, you can teach us almost anything.
Ooh, a lot of people aren't going to like that, but okay.
I mean,
I get you. I get what you're saying. Because if you did that to a woman, the outcome is likely going to be very different.
Right.
They are going to emotionally succumb.
Right.
Before anything of value is learned.
Right. For a guy. And again, I'm specifically saying this is a good training for guys because, again, we're like, okay, to get that food, to get what we want, we have to go through this. I have to achieve. I have to hit that level. I mean, even me, as stupid as it sounds, like when I'd play video games all the time and I still could do the ambidextrous thing. Yeah. You hit the level, you would pause it, smoke a cigarette. That was your reward.
Oh, interesting.
Because I couldn't have a cigarette until I finished it. And again, it's the same.
I see my son-in-law do that. He will game until he's starving because he has to do or reach a certain point, and then he can go and have a snack.
Have a snack.
Because he earned snack.
I earned snack.
How funny.
This is the real male mystery that you're talking about, that the military treats us.
So, okay. So we're both in agreement then that military training background can be very advantageous inside of craft.
Yes.
So what do you recommend for those who do not have it? How do they begin the journey of obtaining?
Listen to Jordan Peterson. You've laughed. Set a goal. Clean a room.
Okay.
Make a decision. Hey, go for a 20-minute walk once a day. Even if it is around your house. I
am often so fascinated by the way men think and work and operate that I ask my male friends some really bizarre questions. And of course, they're always like, what is she after now? What is she doing? Like, but it's fun, whatever.
I've had those questions. I just go, now what?
Our philosophical moments or whatever. And I have one guy friend who, he's very funny because he goes, men wouldn't do a 10th of the things that we do if it weren't for the opposite sex, if it weren't for literally how our likelihood of attracting a mate, is it dependent upon that thing or not?
The going shopping and holding the pocketbook. Again,
yes.
for guys, but again, our mindset is at the end of the day, she's going to be happy. That means I'm going to be happy later tonight.
Right. And that's what I mean. And so he was so funny because he was basically like straight, gay, other, doesn't matter. We buy clothes because other people like them. We have nice homes because other people like them. I will never forget that day he bought a comforter set, like this whole duvet, pillows. He goes, are you kidding me? He goes, do you think I give a shit? He's like, I don't want all these freaking pillows and things on my bed. He goes, I care because she cares. And if she cares, gotcha. And that was his whole motivate. And so I think it's fascinating.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Not every guy in the world, but the majority of guys, yes,
Yeah.
we would drive around in the gray stucco cars,
Right.
never painted.
Right. Because it would be about efficiency.
It'd be about efficiency, not looks.
Yeah.
My style of cooking compared to yours, I'm very methodical, prep, do all this, and you.
Oh, I just free flow.
You do whatever insanity magic thing you do and pull out food out of air. So,
but it's so interesting. So a lot of men's like, okay, work, right? Most men have the jobs that they have and they strive for the income that they have solely because
I have to
provide for my family. Whatever my family looks like, that doesn't matter. But that's their motivator. If it weren't for that, I'm like, what would men do with their time?
Fight.
But that's a really interesting way of looking at it when we start stripping away the modern influence. What would men do? Men would take care of their dwelling. They would, They would go out and do their farming. They would occasionally go out and wrestle another guy to show off for the women. They would figure out a way to get by.
Yeah.
But that would really be it. All that other stuff wouldn't be necessary. Which is where we're always talking about how modern life is kind of getting in the way of our faith.
Right.
Instead of enhancing it. So what, I guess, from your perspective, what elements of discipline are critical? Or does it not matter? Is it just choose something?
It's choose something. It's doing something. It's pick it. Again, it is setting a goal. And again, something obtainable, not something
right, of course,
insane, but to lose so much weight, to exercise this much, to
right.
Just like we talk about with meditation, all it starts is one step. Just 5 minutes, 5 minutes a day. I just need to.
Right.
Guys tend to do better when there's a routine.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because women, always sort of remark about how, oh, my boyfriend went on a diet and lost, 50 pounds in like a week and a half and I've lost 2. And it's because typically men put in, it's just more disciplined. What they do and how they do it becomes all or nothing.
Right.
It's very intense. And as a result, yes, they tend to have results faster.
But again, I think this is why women like us, because when we do fall in love with you, we're just in love with you.
Right. It's potentially the same thing.
Yeah.
So, it's fascinating to me.
The really hard part over all the years and stuff, the one male mystery that always baffled me about, because it seems so innate, man's ability to sit there and go, no, women and children first.
Yeah.
And stand there very cold-heartedly about it. No, they need to live before I do.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's not learned.
It's not. I never remember my dad teaching me this. But again, you and your family are going out for a walk out in the woods. A bear pops out. They all run behind dad.
Right.
Kids are out in the yard playing. They scrape their knees. They run to mom.
Right. Yeah. So magic requires discipline.
Yes.
And high magic, oh boy, is all discipline. I wonder how much success or lack thereof people are equating with this. Because if you are undisciplined in your life, I can't imagine that your magic is going to be disciplined.
It's not.
Right.
There's no way. And especially when I take into account like our form of magic. That requires discipline for everybody.
And that's what's interesting. That's what I think is when people talk about chaos magic, I don't think they realize that that's actually what most people are practicing.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, again, not to get completely off the topic, but you read about all these different magic systems, and somewhere in there's always the witch's pyramid. And I'm like, okay, why not just teach the witch's pyramid?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
And again,
call it a day.
Call it a day. But again, this still teaches discipline. I can see the discipline in the witch's pyramid. We're being flat out quite honest with you. If you're,
Yeah.
if you don't do your research, if you don't know what it is you really want, you're going to cast a spell. You're not going to get what in the world you want. And then you're going to complain.
But it is a learned
Behavior.
Yes, and it is a practiced behavior. I don't think that someone can, even with the witch's pyramid as a guide, you cannot put in the bare minimum and go, well, I did my research. No, you didn't.
No.
You think you did. You did more research than you did last time, but was it really effective? Was it efficient? Was it enough?
Was it enough?
Yeah.
The bad part about this is there's such a nebulous about this subject. How much is discipline and when does it go out of control?
Ooh.
When does it become too much?
Okay. That's interesting.
To where you become so regimented in what you're doing, you can't.
You're well, stiff.
Yes.
Anal retentive. Yeah.
OCD.
Yeah. It was funny because, for a long time, that's how I saw John Cena. I was like, he is so intense, right? Like,
Right.
I'm like, would somebody please remove the stick? And now, like, some of the projects and the things that I see him doing now, I'm like, oh, I had him all wrong. I'm like, it's on purpose.
Yes.
It's discipline when it needs to be, and it's party time the rest of the time. I'm like, this guy's great. He's a genius. Yeah.
I mean, this is just like anything else. Too much of anything is not good for you. Just like,
Balance.
overeating is just as bad as undereating, and not exercising can be just as bad as too much exercise.
Of course. So, since we're defining discipline as a male mystery,
Right.
what's its partner? What's the female mystery equivalent?
Of discipline?
Yeah. Is it compassion?
Possibly.
I think that's where my brain goes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Because again, when we're in that mode, when we're doing that, we are very cold-hearted, logical creatures.
Kind of. But that's not to say that's a bad thing.
No.
But does compassion offer the balance point that helps logic maybe rethink itself a little bit and stop and go, wait a second. Is that too harsh?
I think it helps to soften the edges of discipline.
Yeah.
So everything moves a little easier. Because again, like I said, if you overdo it, you become this rigid.
Right.
And a little bit of compassion helps you break free from that.
Sure. Well, and it's where parents balance each other.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm going to need some more coffee.
All right. Let's get more coffee.
All right, Lord Knight, because apparently you want to ruffle some feathers. Let's talk about what's happening in the Christian community and faith.
Well, I know a lot of people accuse us sometimes of being Christian apologists, but we do have our problems with Christianity.
Yeah, again, I think everybody has to speak for themselves on that, but at the same time, you're kind of posing a question that doesn't necessarily cover right now. Like you literally, what are Christians doing?
Right.
It's not just like right now in 2024, probably in the last, you're looking at 40 years or so?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, because when I was younger, all right, on Sundays, not a grocery store. The only things that were open on Sundays, hospitals, police departments, fire,
Sunday.
and gas stations that were near the high interstate where in the world the truck drivers were driving.
The hilarity of this is that, okay, so you grew up in the South, I grew up north, right?
Right.
For us to both be able to say this
Yes.
is kind of wild. And, right, we're not that old. Like, this is crazy. But yes, I remember as a kid, Sunday was awful.
Yes.
Not because you had to go to church. Sunday was awful because there was nothing to do.
Nothing was on
It
TV.
was so boring, right? It was like, kids were like, oh man, Sunday. It was, especially in the winter. If it was
Yes.
Sunday in the winter, oh my God. You know, like
summertime, it was fine because you go out and
yes,
play all day.
Yes. But in the winter and the cold, it was like, I just remember Sunday being sitting in my parents' living room, maybe doing some of my homework for school. It was watching my dad watch documentaries and TV shows that as a kid, I wanted to gouge my eyes out because I thought they were so boring. Right? He was watching his World War II documentaries or whatever it was.
Sunday mornings at our house, Dad cooking breakfast, watching some evangelist on TV, while Mom tried to get all us kids ready to go to church.
Right. Half of the programming on television was either religious in nature or educational in nature, or it was reruns of something, bland.
Or Captain Kangaroo.
Right? It was and it was mellow. You stayed home, you cooked. There really wasn't much else to do.
Except for hang out with your friends, play with them.
And hang out with your family. Yeah. And most of the times that was it. You weren't allowed. Sunday, there was a cutoff, right? Like you were allowed to hang out with your friends till a certain time, but then it was you got to come home because we got family dinner.
We got family Sunday dinner.
Your aunt and uncle are coming, or this one's coming, or that. Yeah.
But it was a time for family.
Yes.
But now here's what I'm seeing nowadays. Christians going around in the pagan world, this pagan world. Now our country has gone into this. You hear it too.
Well, define it? What do you mean when you say pagan world?
Where the country is collapsing into this pagan lifestyle.
So it's our fault.
So again, the collapse and moral degradation of the society is the witch's fault.
Interesting. Or the devil. Or the devil.
In which my argument here is, no, Christians, y'all gave up your Sabbath for football and shopping.
I mean, let's look at the track record, right? We're only talking about, between 35 and 40 years ago, based on our ages. And yes, now you're right, sporting events have taken over.
It's on every TV show. Every time there's a preacher on there, we're going to make this short because we got to I want to watch the playoffs or what.
Yep. Football becomes
Football
everything.
has become your God. All right. Christians want to go around going, oh, no. We're making lots when all I see are Lot's wives.
And I mean, you're right. And then, everything's open now. Most places are readily available. Family dinner has become family restaurant night or, going out to eat.
If everybody shows up, and God forbid, you can get them off their phones.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of wild. And ironically, right, we still have, especially in the Jewish faith, the Sabbaths, which are Saturdays for them. It is still very common for it to be a complete electronic disconnection from sundown to sunup.
Yes.
A lot of, so much so that your Hasidic Jews turn off their electricity.
Yes.
They do everything by candlelight on the Sabbath. That's kind of a big deal.
So again, is this really our fault?
No. But I don't think so. Here's what it comes down to. I think that what's happening is many of the Christian preachers, pastors, congregation leaders, same as always, they need a scapegoat. They need something to blame it on. They need some evil to work against. So the idea of capitalism or consumerism or people's obsession with, whether it be the internet, pop culture, electronics, sports, it becomes the work of the devil. And we are part of that.
Well, again, in their faith, anything that takes you away from God is part of the devil.
Right.
But again, I sit here, like I said, I watch a lot of YouTube and stuff like that. And I see these pastors sitting here and it's like, they think it's all our fault.
But do they really? That's the question.
Well,
do they?
Well, again, in our religion,
if we just need someone to blame.
If I'm sitting here and I was sitting here saying the same things that they were, right? About their religion, you would call me out on that in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
again, in the pagan
I'd be
community,
like, what the hell are you doing?
in the pagan community, we will call each other out. But I don't see this on the Christian side. I don't see anybody, any of the Christian pastors going, well, wait a minute.
It's because we take responsibility for those decisions. But at the same time, like, so what's happening in the Christian faiths, right? They want to retain their numbers. And you do have two camps of this, right? You have the extremists who want to play the blame game.
Right.
And who want to like basically yell at their congregation. I mean, that's what they think is effective. They think that by yelling and shaming people, they're going to get different results. And then you have those that have modernized enough to accept and go, I know, everybody wants to get to football. No worries. Let's look at the scores, see what Dallas did last night. You know, like it almost becomes part of the sermon or the faith. It's accepted as a recreational activity that binds people
As a community.
Yes. But yeah, they have willfully allowed that to take place because they know they're going to lose.
Yes.
It's a fight they are going to lose. Yet there's an irony to this. And this is where I always kind of know whether I'm speaking with traditional members of craft or neo-pagans. It all comes down to, what are your plans on Halloween?
What?
It is our Sunday football. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The only difference is it's not once a week or one, it's once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Neo-pagans and non-traditional witches from October 28th-ish
Yeah.
to November 1st, definitely through Halloween night, they have a million plans, right? It's parties and
Ritual.
No. There's the thing. That's the one word you don't hear.
Oh.
It's always like party planning and, it's just fluff. It's just fun stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I can get on board with that. I think it's great. But like those same people will say to me, what do you have planned? I'm like, I have Samhain that weekend. That is my plan. Like that is...
My plan is to do my rituals, spend time with my spiritual family, and sit down and eat.
But also, they don't comprehend how much planning can sometimes go into Samhain. Samhain can be the week up to it. I am a lunatic because it's the cleaning and the cooking and the shopping and the planning and the prepping. I mean, it's Christmas for us in a weird way. There's so much that goes into that yes, I have to forego the parties. I have to I love the people, and it all depends, right, on what day Samhain falls on. Like, not, and let me clarify, right? We know Samhain's date does not change. That's not what I'm saying. It's when are we able to celebrate as a group?
As a group.
Yeah. So many times, surprise, right? It's Halloween night or it's the day before Halloween and people are throwing their parties and doing their things. And I'm like, sorry, can't do it. This is where my commitment lies. This is
our New Year's celebration, Christmas, Hanukkah, all wrapped up
into one. And that's my priority. And it makes them sad. I have friends who are like, oh, that sucks. And I'm like, no, it doesn't suck. I'm like, go, enjoy your party, do your thing. But like, this is where I will be. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing, right? Because, we love Halloween, right? Everybody loves spooky season, sure. Right. But it's not. And yes, there are loose bastardizations of the traditions and the things that we used to do, but there's not a correlation.
No.
They don't have, what we know is Halloween in the United States has nothing to do with Samhain. Very little anyway.
I mean, for crying out loud, I remember us doing a Samhain celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And kids coming around doing trick-or-treating, and we're all sitting in our heads going, do you know how messed up this is in y'all's head, in our head? Absolutely.
It's wild. And there's not much, yes, the pumpkins and the some of the decorations and, the fall, the more harvest-oriented stuff, absolutely. But of course, Day of the Dead has been overlapped. All Saints Day has been like all these other things that aren't ours. I sort of get it in that regard, but no, I mean, to blame or to see us as some kind of reason for all the ills. I mean, come on, there are pastors who for years, holy hell, Harry Potter was the worst thing that could have ever happened to their community.
No. Let's don't forget about the backwards masking, the Dungeons and Dragons scare.
All of it.
Uh,
But the reason I bring up Harry Potter specifically is because now it's so mainstream, right? It has a park at Disney.
right.
It has become such a part of our culture. And like, so imagine being the pastor that was ready to die on the hill, right? 15, 20 years ago, that Harry Potter was going to be the downfall of society and all of our children. Where is he now? Right? Is he dead? First, because it's possible, right? He might have been an old dude to begin with.
What? The story of Harry Potter is actually a very ethical and moral.
I know, but he didn't bother to read it. What did he see? He just saw a bunch of little kids running around in wands and went, oh my God. Yeah. So I don't know. But imagine, like, if there's some of them are still around, do they still feel that way? Or are they just grumbling in the corner because they had to give up on that argument?
Well, now, is this the same thing that we saw like during the 80s where the pastor would get up and speak against gays and then their son would suddenly come out of the closet and they would change their tune?
Right. I mean, at some point, they all evolve. They have to. Hopefully, they evolve.
Hopefully.
But there's a lot of that. I mean, like, I can only imagine. I have loads of friends who are devout Christians who love Harry Potter to no end. And that usually becomes the gateway of the conversation of my religion because I have to use that to kind of soften the blow.
Well, again, when you're dealing one-on-one, the tension between pagans and Christians aren't there.
No, it's not that bad. Sometimes it is, but usually it's not that bad. But what I'm saying is these are devout humans who were raised on Harry Potter, who still love Harry Potter, who like now are introducing their children to Harry Potter. It in no way, shape, or form influenced or changed their religious beliefs. So,
no, I mean, just like Dungeons and Dragons did not drive all us kids insane. Okay, there's a few people that took it a little bit too far.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be those people.
Anything can cause that. We're seeing, now the new fear is virtual reality and some of the AI technology, and is it going to take over and do the same thing? I mean, we've been here before.
Well, again, the thing keeps on coming up again because again, during the 90s it was the EverQuest and the kids that kept on killing themselves because they lost their accounts.
But you got to remember, it only takes a handful of fundamentalists to latch onto an idea in the Bible that they refuse to let go of.
Yeah.
And if they do that and they repeat it enough times and you repeat it enough times and you get people at a young enough age and you continue to repeat it, you're going to convince them. So yes, we will always be a scapegoat to some because of the biblical references.
True.
I don't know that we can avoid that, unfortunately. But yeah, to look at what I would say is the evolution of society and the reprioritization of society and say that that's us. I got news for you. We're the ones having to go to our employer and go, HR department, knock, knock. I need these 22 calendar days off from work. What? Well, you see, these are all of our holidays, and these are all religious dates, and I need to be able to observe. So if you'd like me to work on Christmas Day, I'll do it when no one else is here and the doors are closed. But, yeah.
For some reason, companies seem to like that, though.
I know, isn't that funny? But that's where we kind of, we giggle at that because it's not at all the same.
No.
I don't know. I think it's also getting better, though. It is creating more tolerance. It's, again, it's evolving.
It might not be as much as it used to be back in the day, but like I said, I still see it now and here and there, and
Sure.
especially here lately.
But I mean, you even have I think the numbers are much smaller, or at least maybe in my heart, I would like to believe that. But there are still Christians who think the Jews are quote unquote devils, and
True.
that they're, so it's not just us. We're just an easy mark, unfortunately.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Ready for some more coffee?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another episode. Pagan Coffee Talk is brought to you by Life Temple and Seminary. Please visit us at lifetempleseminary.org for more information, as well as links to our social media: Facebook, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit.
We travel down this trodden path, the maze of stone and mire. Just hold my hand as we pass by a sea of blazing pyres. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning breaks. And so it is the end of our days, so walk with me till morning